All right. Wow, you guys are noisy. Or loud. It's good. It's good. I love the 11 o'clock service. Love them. Well, hey, how are you? Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It's 2025, people. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Okay, so this year, what's going to be your move, right? How are you moving into this year? I just want to say, as I walk into our first Sunday, I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. That's the word. That's the emotion. I'll tell you why. So last year, December, we were collecting a Christmas offering. We were like, you know what? We do this every year. We wanted to raise $25,000 for our all our partners, outreach partners, locally and globally, and we wanted to give them a Christmas gift. Basically, make sure that they would go into the year fully funded, and maybe we want to raise $25,000. So the bad news is we didn't hit it. The good news is we surpassed it. All right, so you guys, yes, so grateful. We brought in actually $27,456. So for those of you who gave the $56, hello, thank you. But seriously, those of you who gave even $5-10, that's how we got to that much amount. And so it's going to be great. Why? Because they're going to walk into to this year. Our partners, especially our church in Italy, that we help. Yeah, we fund a great deal, and they're able to do church because of you guys. And it was so great because knowing they can walk into this year fully, in full confidence, knowing they're going to be fully supported by us. And so that's always a great feeling. The question is, how are you guys walking into this year? Are you walking in confidence? I got some Christmas gifts. Anybody getting Christmas gifts? Anybody? You got some? Did you get a Christmas gift? You're like, yes, I got it. I felt people. I gave a lot of clues. I pretty much just bought it myself. But hey, you still got the gift, right? Some of you guys, did you get a bust? You're like, what is this? What is this? Okay, so here's what's funny. I got some Christmas gifts here. I want to show you, okay? So I got a Christmas gift, and this is the Christmas gift I got from my, I think my brother. Yeah, my brother. Yeah, from my brother. Do you know what this is? Anybody know what this is? A bug repellent, sir. Thank you. Yes, thank you. This is not a taser. That would be cooler. That would have been cooler. Just saying. That would have been cooler, right? Yeah, that would have been cooler. But this is a bug repellent. So I'm going to go into this year fully confident that I can repel mosquitoes. Like serious. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the spring, people. I'm ready for it. Fully confident. Gotta say though, I was holding this. I don't feel totally confident. Here's why. Because my son got a gift from his uncle, and he got this. Okay, he got this. Okay, do you know what this is, friends? An axe? No. It's actually called a pulaski. It's actually meant for forging through the woods. It's like making trails, clearing trails, because Asher apparently is into that. He actually is into that. Yeah, he got this. I gotta tell you something. I held this and started forging some stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? We went on a hike, and guess what Asher was doing? If he had an axe, he would axe all day. Yeah, he did that, and I did it too. If you hold one of these, it feels so confident. So confident that I'm making some of you nervous. You're like, put it down, just put it down. That's a weapon. The earlier service, a guy came up. He's like, only at Mosaic you can hold up a weapon. I'm like, this is not a weapon. It's a forging tool. That's what it is. But I'll tell you what though, this feels a lot more confident walking into this year than maybe this. You know what I'm saying? This was not. You know what's interesting is I think walking into this year is connected to what we're holding on to right now. Like what you're holding on to right now. Like maybe you're holding on to something that's really great that happened. Like, hey, the end of the year really well. It was really great. It was awesome. And you're walking into this year going, you know what? I feel confident that this year is going to be good or maybe even better. Maybe you're not holding on to a Pulaski. You're holding on to this guy right here. Not quite sure if it's actually going to work. Not quite sure because last year was not that great. You know, it was, you still had some dreams, you still had some goals, you still had some stuff that has not resolved itself. Relationships, it was kind of like one of those years where like, hey, it's going to be a great year, and it was not really a great year. It was an okay year, it was just a year. It's just a year. Nothing bad happened, nothing good happened. So how much confidence do you have going into this year? How much? I think it's your confidence and my confidence, it's connected to what we hold on to. And what I want to do this morning is I want to talk to you what you're holding on to. Like, where does your confidence come from? Because where your confidence comes from is connected to the supply and how confident you will be. And I want to just propose to you, because I'm going to do this, and I'm going to propose to you that you hold this in your hand more than anything else. More than a weapon, more than a repellent, you hold the knowledge of God, the stories of God here, the scriptures that you hold on to. And that's the case I'm going to make, because there's some things in your life that you need to step into. There's some things that you need to conquer, dismantle in your life, and it's not going to be enough for you to repel them, because you have tried that, right? We've all tried to repel people too, ignore them, ghost them, whatever we want to do, or we've kind of like, I don't know, maybe you've thought about it, but you haven't done it. Okay, so I would say that there's something that the scriptures want to tell us about us and our confidence. And it's connected to how we're wired up. And the great thing about the scriptures, the great thing about it is that doesn't just tell us the story of God. It tells us the stories of people who interacted with God and how God shaped their lives. And God wants to shape your life, and He wants to give you the confidence to do the things that you want to do. And if you go, man, Nate, I just want to lose weight, God wants to help you. You're like, nah, I don't think He does. He does. He does. He says, no, I don't think so. No, he does. Man, I just want to get out of debt. God cares about that. Hey, I just want a relationship. God cares about that. He cares about those things, and you're here because you know that maybe He just does care. And I'm here to confirm He definitely does. He definitely does. But so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the scriptures. I'm going to go to Old Testament. There's Old Testament, and then there is New Testament. Thank you. So the Old Testament has all kinds of interesting stories about this group of people, Jewish people that became Israelites, that God moved them and used them to become a certain kind of people, and to use them as an illustration of how God deals with people and humanity. So He takes a group of people who've been enslaved for generations. He takes them out. He uses Moses. If anybody remember Moses, remember, yo, let my people go. Yeah, that's Moses. So Moses takes these people, about 1 million people or more, takes them out of, anybody know? Slavery, but also, yes. Yeah, we already got there. Okay, we got out of Egypt and into the promised land. So He uses them as an illustration to show not just that He wants to move them from one place to another place, but to one kind of people, to another kind of people they were created to be. And so we'll see that. And when some of the stories in the Old Testament shows us that God always wants to do this, when He challenges us and He shapes us, He wants to not just move us to a better place or a better situation with less struggles. He wants to make us into a different kind of people. So every opportunity right now that God's offering you, every nudge of like, maybe I should do this, it's an opportunity to not do something more, but become someone more. Become someone. And so here's what happens. These stories are so interesting. One of the books in the Old Testament is called Numbers. So if you've never read the Bible, you're like, Numbers? The book is actually called Numbers? Yes, it is. Someone who loved math wrote it. You know what I'm saying? It's counting all the census, the tribes and all that. But there is a story in there that I believe will help us have a better idea of what we're holding in our hands and what kind of confidence that we really do have. So the book of Numbers is where we're going to go. Also, if you've downloaded our app, the scriptures are there so you can follow along, but we'll put it on the screens for you as well. So we'll go to chapter 13. Chapter what? 13. All right. So before we jump into and I read this, I want to give you the context of this whole idea of we. Who are the we? Who are the we? So the we are the people that were picked. There were about 12 people that were picked. They were one of the representatives of the 12 tribes of Israel. So you got 1 million plus people divided up in 12. The leaders of them, one of each was picked to go check out a land that God told them, hey, this is for you. So the whole promised land deal, this was it. He says, and so they were picked to go and check it out. That's how we pick up the story. So they go check out this land, which, by the way, God said, hey, I'm giving you this land. I'm giving you this land. But in Numbers, they tell the story of when they went and they had been gone for how many days? Anybody know? It's a tough one. They were gone for about 40 days. 40 days. So it's interesting because like Jesus fasted for 40 days. There's a lot of 40 days. So if you're 40, hey, okay. But so they went for 40 days. So they've been gone for a while. And then they come back. They come back and they're kind of divided. Most of them are like, they're not quite sure. There are two people who are positive and everybody else is negative, okay? So here's where we pick up the story. He said, and these are the people who are like the negative people. They come back and go, hey, we entered the land. You sent us to explore, and it is indeed what? A bountiful country. Yes, a land flowing with milk and Cheerios. I mean, milk and honey. Sorry. Okay, and here is the kind of fruit that it produces. So they had brought samples. They're like, hey, this is the stuff. And the people, he says, but we got a problem. What's wrong? But the people. The people are always the problem, right? He says, but the people living there are what? Powerful. They're powerful. And he goes on and says, and their towns, they are what? Large and fortified. I mean, this is a secure place. And then they go on and they say, guess what? We even saw, I'm going to tell you, guess what? We even saw what? Giants there. Giants there. Yes, we saw giants there. And the descendants of Anak. Now, the descendants of Anak, they throw that in. I just want you to know, Jewish people would know what they meant. Here's why. The giants, that word, when you connect it to that descendant line, that descendant line, it's the Nephilim. Yeah, Nephilim. The Nephilim were these mythological people that show up in the scriptures. It's kind of like this. It's like, anybody into Greek mythology or anything like that? Like, you guys know Zeus and all the Poseidon and all that? Okay, in all the Greek mythology, you also have you have gods, and then you have these demigods. And how do you make a demigod? You make a demigod by a god getting together with a person, a human, and then they make a demigod. They're not gods, but they're demigods. They have special powers. In Jewish mythology, the Nephilim, the descendants of Anak, were demigods. So they come back and they go, hey, the land, it's amazing. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. But guess what? There are demigods there. There are people who are huge there. There's no way this is going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen. So the two people who were positive about it was Caleb and Joshua. So Caleb starts jumping in there, and he says this. It says, but Caleb tried to quiet the people. He's like, hey. And as they stood before Moses, he's like, hey, listen. Let me tell you. Here's what I think. I think let's go at once and take the land. We can what? Certainly conquer it. We can do this. We can do this. And they're like, I'm not quite sure. Have you noticed though, like you can have like, do you know negative comments and thoughts? Like cynicism moves faster, right? To any organization, anything. Now it's like it's kind of crazy. So the crowd is like, no. In fact, here's what they say. They said this. It says, we can't go up against them. They are stronger than we are. So they spread this. They spread this bad report. This bad report to the land among the Israelites. And the land, he said, this is what their talking points were. Basically, the talking points were the land that we traveled through. Guess what? First of all, it had music, background music. Okay. Second of all, we traveled through, explored. It will devour. It will what? Say it again. Devour anyone who goes there. All the people we saw were huge, not some. Now we saw what? Again, we even saw what? Giants there. We saw giants there. The descendants of what? Anak. Yeah. And next to them, guys, let me just tell you, we felt like what? Grasshoppers and what? That's what they thought. That's what they thought. They're like, what? What? Have you seen a grasshopper recently? Have you seen a picture of a grasshopper? Can I show you a picture of a grasshopper? I wanted to just buy grasshoppers for all of us, but no. Okay, okay, calm down. It's not real. It's not real. It's not gonna get you. It's not gonna get you. But this is a grasshopper, an American grasshopper. Now notice something about it before we switch the screens here. Notice something. It's the strongest part of its anatomy is its hind legs. Okay, its back legs, and the front legs, I like to call arms. Okay, are the smallest. Did someone just snort? Yes, they did. Okay, this is good. I love it. Okay, so. I mean, the grasshopper has T-Rex arms and like huge thighs, squatting a whole lot, and can jump a whole lot. That's why they're called grasshoppers, and they hop away. Here's why I'm bringing this up. Like, why did you compare yourself? Why didn't you say ant? We are like ants. We're like bugs, lizards. We're like anything small, fleas, ticks. I mean, there's so many. Okay, why grasshoppers? Like, why grasshoppers? What's interesting about this, and I'm making this connection here, okay? So I don't know if it's true or not. I just wonder if like why they use grasshoppers. The reason they use this is because of the kind of people for generations they were told to be. They were told to be slaves. They were told to be people who could only do certain things in their life. Like they would always be owned by someone. This is the first time, by the way, the Jewish people are not owned by someone else. They have just come out of human trafficking. And I don't know about you, but people who've been trafficked before, it messes with them, especially if you're born into it, not first generation, second generation, generations. You become a different kind of person when all you think is that you are property. When you're property, your worth and value is in how and what you can do, not in who you are. And so your psyche changes. You compare and you look at the world very differently. Grasshoppers have one strength. And their strength is to hop away and escape from danger. That's it. That's it. They got small arms to eat, but they have strong legs to run away. And I wonder when the Jewish people were like, we're like grasshoppers. We're like, basically, this is who we are. I wonder if some of us, all we have done is trained ourselves to be grasshoppers. The strongest thing about us is our ability to walk away and to run away from danger. The strongest ability that we have trained ourselves is that whenever things get hard, we hop away, we ignore, we just run away. Because we're not people who are giant killers. No, we are grasshoppers. We're not giant killers. We're grasshoppers. And here God is telling them, I want you to go after this dream. I want you to go after this land. I want you to go after this promise. I want you to go after this goal. And you need to move from this idea of that you are a grasshopper to you are a giant killer. And if you don't do that, you're going to stay stuck. And for some of us, you're like, I just want to lose this weight. I can never do this. I can never be out of debt. I can never have a relationship. I can never. And what you do is you walk away and you hop away from the biggest and the most important things in your life. And because we've trained ourselves to do that, or we've lived that kind of life before, and this year, it could change. This year, you move from being a grasshopper. You don't know to a giant killer. You go, I'm not. And that's what God was saying. God's saying, I'm telling you, I'm not saying they're not big people. I'm not saying they're not giants. I'm not saying that. I am saying though that I am with you. And I'm giving you this. And so you might go, well, we only have this against giant killers. We don't have this. But he's saying, you have me. You have me. And if you just listen to me, things will change. And you have to stop comparing yourself to them. Do you know something about comparison? Comparison corrupts what? Everything. Like, I mean, I get we compare to understand where we are, but comparison always corrupts, right? Because it makes you either better than you are or worse than you are, depending on who you compare yourself to. Because if you surround yourself with people and you just compare yourself to this kind of person, you're always falling short. You're always not good enough. You're always lacking. You're always ugly. You're always fat. You're always immature. You're always not smart. You're always whatever, because you always come up short. Why? Because you're comparing yourself to a certain group of people, or you are the best thing in the world. You got it going on. You got it going on. Why? Because you don't compare yourself to all the people who actually have it going on. You just compare yourself to people who don't have anything going on. And you're like, compared to them, I'm amazing. Well, why? Because comparison corrupts everything. Everything. It infects you. It infects you. It pollutes your speech. Have you noticed that? Comparison, like, I could never be like her. Because her is awesome and I'm not. I'm always going to be like this. I am a failure. I am a loser. Because why? Because you're like, you look at something, you look at a post and you go, you don't even have to say it, right? Your mind says it for you. There's no way. My life could never look like that. Why? Because we view life by just comparing. And here's the problem. Our confidence comes from comparing. So if you compare the right people, you are like, hey. But man, our confidence cannot come from comparing, because comparing corrupts what? Everything. And we're good at it. We compare what we shouldn't even compare. We compare our kids to other kids. This is even worse. Maybe, I don't know. We compare our spouses to other spouses. We do. Oh my gosh. On a bad day, we compare our friends to other friends. You're like, I wish I had better friends. Don't say it out loud. You're sitting with them. Just saying. We compare. Comparison corrupts what? Everything. So Joshua and Caleb in the story, they know this. So they're like, hey. So they take one more shot at this thing. One more shot. Here's what they say. They said, all people, they said, the land we've traveled through and explored, just wanted to let you know, it is a wonderful land. And the Lord is pleased with us, and he will give us safety into the land and give it to us. God's going to give this to us. You can do this. We can do this. And then he says, hey, it is what God promised. It is rich, flowing with what? Milk and honey. So don't rebel. Like, don't go against, don't do this. Don't stop believing that you shouldn't go after this. It says, don't rebel, don't do this. Don't be afraid of the people of the land. Don't do it. Don't look at them. And guess what? They're helpless. Pray to us. They're helpless. They have no protection, but the Lord is what? With us. Don't be afraid of them. He's like, don't look at them. Don't get your confidence from comparing. Get your confidence from being convinced that God's with you. Get your confidence from there. So he gives this, he's like, we can do this. The gladiator speech, hey, we got this, we can do this. What you do in life, that goes in eternity, that whole thing. And guess what happens? But what happened? The whole community began to talk about stoning them. Yeah, so it didn't go well. I'm sure Caleb is like, I should have done the talking. Okay? So it just goes the opposite. It goes so opposite, friends. History tells us, do you remember the 40 days of exploring? It causes 40 years of exploring. They are in that place, stuck in the wilderness, roaming around for 40 years. Because for 40 days they went to explore and see, to make up their decision if they were going to believe God or not. And they said not. And so 40 years later. In fact, the book of Numbers right after that is the book of Deuteronomy, which, by the way, we got to come up with better names for these books. But anyways, Deuteronomy, whoever knows what that is. Okay, so Deuteronomy. So Deuteronomy talks about this incident. Like after it happened, it talks about it. And it talks about the fact that this whole idea of like getting 12 tribes and going and exploring, that wasn't God's idea. It says, that's not what the plan was. I let you do that, but I had already told you that I'm going to give you this. I told you I'm with you. Be strong, courageous. I'm with you. I'll be with you. Every step you take, the land that you step on, I'll be there. I'll just do it. I'll be there with you. And for some of you, you need to know this. Like you're here, not because you're like, I am giving God a chance. No, your soul knows that God is speaking to it. It knows, it wants to believe. Your mind is the problem. Your soul knows. You're here to convince your mind that God loves you and is for you and wants to help you. So here, he goes, he's like, I'm giving you this. I'm giving you this. So Deuteronomy writes this. It says this. It says, this is what really happened. God told him, he said, the Lord your God is going ahead of you. So what really happened is that they looked at the land, and this is what God said. He said, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go ahead of you. And he is going to fight for you just as you saw him do in what? Egypt. He got you out of slavery. He got you out of that. He's the same God who's going to take you out of this. The God who saved you from this is going to allow you to conquer that. Same God. And he says, and do you remember? And you saw how the Lord your God cared for you all the way as you traveled through the wilderness. Remember that? He provided for you. He's saying you remember the stories? Remember the stories? And then he says, just as a father does what? Carries his child. He has brought you to this place. If you've been in Christianity, you've probably heard the story of the footprints in the sand. Anybody hear of that? The footprints in the sand story, and even there are paintings depicted of it, is this idea of like a person walking through the wilderness or a desert, and it says, God, where were you? I'm looking at my footprints, and I'm the only one. The only footprints that I see is just one set of footprints. And the paintings are always depicted on the fact that God says, hey, the reason why there's only one footprint is because I was carrying you the entire time. Those are mine. The story, the art is inspired by this verse. This idea that God, when he promises you, he says, I'm gonna carry you through this. I want to carry you to this place. So what is it going to require? It's going to require us changing some things. And the biggest thing is going to change is we're going to have to move our confidence and place it not on this guy right here or whatever this represents in your life. But it's going to require us moving to this right here. 2 Corinthians, Paul writes this. He says, and it's kind of an interesting thought, so let me just read you the thought. He says, we demolish arguments and every pretense that sets us up against the knowledge of God. He says we do that. He said in our lives, we need to do that because there are so many things that in our life that when we look at our lives and we compare or contrast, we do these things, there's so many things that are just not what God says about the situation. There's so many things. And we always have to put that with and judge it according to what God says. And he says this, and here's how we do it. We take captive what? Every thought. We have 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day, some say. But there are some thoughts, we have to make them obedient do what Christ says. And there's something about your worth that you've believed because you've compared and contrast. And your confidence has come from that. There's something about what, like last year was awesome and this year is not that awesome. And you're comparing. And so your confidence is gone. Because our confidence has come from our accomplishments. They've come from our successes sometimes. And I totally get that. There are things that we hold on to, and when we hold on to those things, we feel powerful. But that's only till we hold on to them. And sometimes our success, our job, our relationship, the things we love are taken away. And then how confident are we? And so here, the scriptures, God is reminding all of us that this year, as you navigate it, make sure that your confidence comes from Him. And if you allow Him to shape your thoughts, if you allow Him to change the way you think, which you can, you have to change the way you think about you physically, spiritually, relationally, psychologically, emotionally. If you allow Him to do that, you and I are going to move from being grasshoppers to giant killers. Next week, I'm going to talk about the giant in your life and what is it. And we're going to figure out how to conquer it. But today, I just want to pray for us, because for some of us, you're not confident. And I get that. Or some of you guys are really confident. Why? Because last year, you were killing it. And I get it. You were hashtag winning all the time. But that's not promised this year. So, can I pray for you? Can we take a moment? Because God, you need to allow God to move in your life. And you got to move in your life. You got to take the big move. I don't know what it is, but I do want to pray for it. Cool? Let's do this. Let's pray together. Let's stay where you are. Let's take a moment and close your eyes if you don't mind, and whatever you have to do to focus. I don't know what it is. Maybe you have to hold on to your coffee cup, or just figure out a way to just focus for just a minute and think about the thing that you're like, this is too big. This is a big thing in my life, but I'm not quite sure if I'm confident. In what area of your life you are comparing, and because of that, you're just not that confident? Is it your career? Is it the vision of the future? Is it your health? You're like, I'm just not confident. I'm just not confident. I'm stressed out. So God, in this moment, as all of us are just focused, we are putting some things before you. God, some of us are putting our anxiety right before you. And maybe you want to say this, God, I'm putting my anxiety before you. God, I'm putting my family right in for you. I'm putting my relationships, my dreams of being married, of having a family, I'm putting it before you. God, I'm putting my career before you. I'm putting this giant of a debt that I have before you. I'm putting this relationship that has been broken and has been lost, it seems like. I'm putting this person, and I'm putting my heart out before you, God, because all these things are connected to who we are and what we believe about ourselves. So God, I pray, God, in this moment, a blessing over each one of those things that have laid bare. Because for some people, it's their whole life. They're giving you their life. This morning, they're saying, Jesus, I give you my life. I give you my life. The most insecure part of my life, I give it to you. And the most confident thing in my life, I give it to you. So God, I pray first, God, that you would Remind them that God, you're the one who carries us through this, that you are with us. So I pray a blessing over them in Jesus' name, God. I pray a blessing, God, that this year would be a blessing of incredible surprises, of these little miracles. I pray that this will be a blessing of a sight to see things, God, that they've never seen before happen in their life. I pray also, God, I pray against the enemy of our life who wants to kill, steal, and destroy. I pray against all the negative thoughts. I pray against depression. I pray against anxiety, God, that's paralyzing. I pray against those really tough things. I pray against a sense of not wanting to be alive. God, I pray against those things. God, I pray that you would cover them. God, we desperately need you to move in our lives. But God, we also want to move this year. So God, as we go receive communion or light a candle or stand or sit or go to the cross, God, dude, make a move in us, God.